You remember wolfguy, right? You know, the manga with the really cool looking main character, the very beautiful female heroine, and yes, that scene. But for all yous who don't, let me tell you a story about how a manga completely lost control and went too far. But what is wolfguy? Well, let's go back to the beginning. So the wolfguy manga of today, which we're going to be speaking about, is actually an adaptation of the original that came out in 1970, written by Kazumasa Hirai and illustrated by Hisashi Sakaguchi. But in 2007, two people known as Yuki Yugo and Yoshiaki Tabata, that name may sound familiar to some of you manga readers, especially if you've read the manga known as Akumetsu, which came out in 2002. But going back to wolfguy, in 2007 they decided to adapt or readapt the original with a more violent and mature setting, and to say they achieved that would be an understatement, because they didn't just achieve that, they went above and beyond and too far. But I'm getting way ahead of myself again. So what is wolfguy? Who is wolfguy? Why is a wolfguy? What's going on? So we begin the manga following our main character Akira as he's walking through the streets at night. He must be brave. And then obviously it switches perspective to our main female heroine, Ayo. She's a homeroom teacher and she's having one too many. So while she's walking home at night being a little bit tipsy and drunk, this is when she actually encounters Akira for the first time. It's their first interaction. And in classic main character style, that cliche moment, they get surrounded by a bunch of bad guys. If only Akira could do something to save her and she would end up getting mesmerised by him. Well, funny enough, that actually happens. And this is actually one of the main strengths I do want to talk about, because I want to make this clear. I love this manga. It has a lot of great stuff going for it. Unfortunately, like I said, when we do get to that segment, it really just completely becomes pure insanity. But the dynamic between Akira and Ayo is really good, and it kind of blossoms into a bit of a romance. Well, it kind of is a romance. I've seen some people talk about it, especially in terms of what the ending kind of means, but we'll get there. So this will be one of many times where you see Akira saving her, as he starts that off right now, where he just ends up using an element of his strength to take on these guys. But what's this? They overpower him? No, that can't be. He's the main character. Oh, don't worry, guys. He ends up just taking this as a bit of a joke. He's just getting warmed up. Yeah, if you haven't figured it out by now, Akira is a wolf. Even though it hasn't been shown yet, it's about to be shown. He's a wolf. And he ends up transforming and just completely annihilates all these guys. But I want to make this clear though, even though he saves Ayo a lot, I don't want you to take it that she's just your typical damsel in distress, because I know that's always seen in a negative light. She isn't, she is more than that. She's actually a really great character. As I touched on earlier, probably the biggest strength to this manga is her and Akira's dynamic. It really is sweet, because let me make this clear, this manga is very grim, it's very dark, it's very mature, it's very bittersweet. There's none of this cutesy funsy time, but there's a few, and it all stems from their dynamic. And there's this really great moment later on where she still doesn't know he's a wolf, but she's kind of been figuring it out and kind of theorizing, and she ends up seeing him with his wolf head on, like his actual wolf form, but it's just his head. And she ends up grabbing it, trying to pulling it off, thinking it's a mask, and she gets all sort of confused. It's really cute and it's really sweet. I wish we got more of them moments. It's great. And unfortunately, that's the end of all the cutesy moments we ever get from this manga. But as we've been going through it and I've been showing you the panels, there's probably been one thing you've probably caught on to, especially for some of you who've probably been reading it and you're still quite early on. And that's the art style. I mean, wow, look at it. It's just insane. And what I love is that for it being so insanely detailed, it really emphasizes a lot of what some of the characters are kind of thinking. Like, there's certain panels where the characters are not saying anything, or they maybe only have minimal dialogue, but you don't really need to know what they're saying, because you can tell by just looking at them. Like, the way it details the facial expressions, the body language, the horror in some scenes, it's truly extraordinary. And that only just improves as the manga goes on. Like I said, there's 117 chapters. I mean, every single chapter is absolutely stunning. And not only that, it might also have some of the most ugliest faces I've ever seen. I'm not even gonna lie. I mean, look at this mutant. You don't even need any context. And by the way, this is just some random henchman, some random thug. It's not an important character, but you do get some of the main important side characters that also look like this as well. But you don't need any context to understand this person's evil, this person's horrific, this person is dark. It's just another aspect of that visual representation or that visual storytelling. But speaking of dark, this is where we get to the point of why this manga is very infamous in the community. Now, if you haven't caught on yet, I've kind of implied that there's a certain moment that happens later on in the story where the mangaka completely loses control and goes way beyond the limits. But I'm going to be a bit of a bad boy now. I'm going to tease yous a little bit more. Oh, don't worry, it's coming. But before yous come, let me explain to you the depiction of horror and violence in Wolfguy and why in some aspects of it I actually think it's to its benefit. I'm not insane, trust me. But as you have seen already so far, especially in the depictions of violence and gore, when you see Akira transforming into a werewolf and just completely massacring everyone in front of him, the way it's detailed is very graphic, right? And that yet again just goes down to how incredible the art style is. But it's not just people getting killed left, right and centre of why this manga is very bad and dark. No. It's how it shows the other dark tones and themes. For example, there's drug use, there's sexual assault and abuse, there's torture, mentally and physically, and I have to be careful with my words here. All I'm going to say is school plus guns, and you have probably figured out what I'm implying there, and yes, it does not shy away in terms of what it's trying to show there. It's very brutal, it's very dark. But in my eyes, some of these depictions of horror and violence is actually to its benefit, and not because obviously I'm just weird or creepy, no, it's because from the get-go, Wolfguy is not shy about basically telling you what it is. It's sort of identity. You kind of already understand what it's going to be. But with every single sort of depiction of media, there's always a limit. Because we've all read manga, you're around 20 or 30 chapters deep, and you kind of understand what the loop and the cycle is going to be. And even with Wolfguy and all the different paths it takes in terms of the depictions of horror, violence, and its dark themes, even then, Wolfguy has its limits. And this is where we reach the most infamous moment in the whole entire manga. Don't worry guys and girls, the teasing is finally over. I told you it was coming, so now that that's over, let's get into it. So, after 67 chapters of pure insanity and chaos in the world of Wolfguy, me and all of you guys and girls who've been reading this manga, we kind of know what we're going to get from it, right? We know the gist of this world. We know how far it's gone, even with all its depictions of violence. We know who the good guys are and who the bad guys are. So it can't get any worse than this, right? Wrong, because this is where we get to chapter 68, where the main female heroine of the series, Io, and there's a reason why I keep emphasising that by the way, gets captured by the main villain of the series, and gets taken back to their base and thrown in the cell in just her bra and underwear. But don't worry guys, clearly Akira's going to come in last minute and save her, because what I should have mentioned, there's been 2 other attempts during these first 67 chapters of near SA that's happened to her, but Akira has been there to save the day, and that makes sense because it usually is quite a cliche trope when it happens to female main characters. If something bad does happen to them, usually it'll be done off screen. But no, not with Wolfguy, not with this author, because this is where he lost the plot. I don't know if he was drunk or what he was smoking, but he thought, you know what, let's go beyond the limits. Because from chapter 69 onwards, all the way until maybe chapter 84, this manga gets its reputation within the community with 2 words, and it's not a good 2 words, and I'll put them up on screen right now. And yes, your eyes are not deceiving you. That right there is unfortunately what happens to the main female heroine. Now, I'm going to have to be very careful in terms of what I'm showing and how I kind of explain it. So I apologise if I may not be doing it justice, but I just have to be careful, but I'll try my best. So, I thought, you know what? While we're here, we have to talk about it. Let me just go through some of the chapters. And the crazy thing is, some of these chapter names literally are already kind of giving you a little bit of foreshadowing to what's happening. I couldn't believe it when I went back and looked at it. I'll read some of them out right now. So, chapter 68, the chapter where Aya gets kidnapped, is literally titled Kidnapped, so that's pretty obvious, right? But then you get other names like Resolve, Stifled Screams, Penetration. And no joke, there's literally one chapter, it's chapter 76, and it's literally called Grape. I mean, what? And this is the thing. If you're someone who's only read up to chapter 68 and somehow you haven't clicked on the next chapter but you've just read the names, especially considering the position that Io is in, you're probably understanding that something bad is going to happen, especially when you just read these chapters. But of course, this not being a hentai and doujin, by the way, because it's not, and this being a regular manga, there's only so far that they're going to show that. If anything, it might just happen off screen. No. Because even with the elements of restrictions and censorship, the way they show what these characters do to her is vile. Because yes, unfortunately, she gets graphically and brutally G-banged multiple times. And if you think that was bad, they end up filming her and getting ready to expose her to everyone that she works with, which makes it even more worse. But if you thought that was bad, it gets even worse again, because they start to inject her with this sort of serum that makes her enjoy what's happening to her. What is this author on? But guys and girls, it gets even worse. Because there's something I haven't mentioned, which I've been waiting until this moment in time to tell yous. See all these characters committing this insane, vile act on her. Remember they're at school, right? Yeah, middle school. These are middle schoolers, and if you know Japanese ages, you know that ranges from the age of 12 to 15. So let's give them the benefit of the doubt that they're 15. Well, it doesn't matter, because what the hell is going on? In all seriousness, what is the actual benefit of all this? No, in all honesty, what benefit do we get out of this? Because I get there's going to be someone out there who's going to say, well, it's to show how bad the bad guys are. Like, what? We knew how bad they were all the way back in chapter 1, especially with all their depictions of violence since then throughout the series, so that doesn't work. Oh, but we want to see Akira break down and struggle. Okay, we actually do get a chapter on that. So while all this craziness is going on, there's a chapter where it shows Akira looking for Io, and he stumbles upon a room with a recording. Now remember what I said earlier, they are recording what they're about to do to her, right? And he sees little glimpses of them about to take all her clothes off. See, that would have been perfect if they just showed us that and never showed us anything more. We as the viewer and Akira himself know exactly what's going to happen, right? We didn't need to see 8 full-on chapters, which, by the way, Akira's not even a main character in any of this. He might as well not even exist. He's literally just been pushed to the side, of her getting insanely graphically G-banged left, right and centre. Like, what was the whole point of that? But anyway, guys, that's wolfguy. Oh, she gets saved, so yay. But look, I'm a man of culture. I love seeing me some etchiness. I love seeing me some nudity. But when it's depicted in this sort of way and it's this insanely graphic and violent, no thank you. But maybe some of you enjoyed it. And look, I'm not judging, but I want to know, when you first read this for the first time, when you got to that moment and then obviously all the other chapters that follow it, what were you thinking? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did it put you off? And for all the ones out there, yeah, you know who I'm talking about. You know, the ones who heard about what happens at this moment in the story and skip straight to chapter 69 just to see all the action. Tell me, did you enjoy it? Did it excite you? Well, if it did, please let me know down in the comments down below, and I'll see yous in the next one.